and I'm not going to be as quick. So when you more at your natural weight, you have all of those combined. You have the sprint, you have the endurance, you have the quickness, and you have the strength. So that's why him being at 160, I kind of agree with Floyd because he would be closer to his natural weight.
That makes sense. Hey, we gotta announce the legend in the building, man. My boy Bruce Gas. Hey, Bruce, man, I gotta ask you this, man. I've been waiting to talk to you, man. What did Terrence Crawford show us that night, man? And you go back all the way back. What did he show us that night?
I just saw all those skills come together. I think he's a complete fighter. I think I saw a killer instinct. Man, he fought the perfect fight. He was just a superior fighter. Absolutely, man. I listened to some of the OGs on YouTube, guys like Scrapbook, Boxing Librarian, Blood Boxing, and they broke this fight down nicely. As a matter of fact, Scrapbook, he sounded like Miss Cleo. He broke it down so clearly. He's been watching both of these fighters since they were amateurs, and he just said, he explained how Errol Spence doesn't have the ability to switch from offense to defense as smoothly as Bud Crawford does. He talked about the footwork, how Bud has better footwork. He said he loves both fighters, but he said that the fight's going to be stopped in the 8th or 9th round. And man, it was psychic to hear somebody with that deep of knowledge speak on it. And I looked at it from a different way after I heard that, because this was his prediction. This wasn't his breakdown, his coming after the fight. Mm-hmm. I looked at Bud that way too. I just sort of he just had it seemed like his head was more into it. He had that more tunnel vision, and maybe it's the discipline of staying out of the clubs, staying out of the party situation, concentrating 100% on your family and boxing. Whatever it is, Bud was a special fighter on that night, and I think he's a better fighter all around. Errol Spence, I don't know where he's going to go from here. Maybe up to 154, maybe to 160. I mean, I can't tell somebody. Everybody's saying retire. You got brain damage, this and that, man. I'm not a doctor, and I can't tell a man when to retire from his occupation. So Errol has to do some head searching, realize if he wants to go back to square one. Maybe he needs a new trainer. I don't know. I'm not on that side of the game. I'm just a fan. But I'd like to see him come back. A rematch, man. I don't think there'd be any difference in the rematch than there was in the original fight. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it marinate. If we want to compare this fight to Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns, and even though it wasn't as competitive as, they had a rematch 8 years later. Both went their separate ways after their fight. Both won multiple titles. And they had a great fight. It ended in a draw when they had their rematch. And this could happen again, man. Both of these guys are top-notch fighters. And it was a fantastic week. And you can see people are still talking about it. People are still passionate about it, man. I'm hearing every argument from complete 360 to a complete 180. I mean, it's crazy, but this is why we love boxing, man. This is the sport. It's making it exciting all over again.
So in that fight, why did Spence look like Arturo Gatti? Why did he look like Gatti in that fight? Because he was the bigger man, the stronger man, and he looked just like Arturo Gatti that night in Atlantic City, man, when he fought Floyd. Why was that?
Well, man, I can't answer that question, but I can say Bud Crawford studied his man. Bomac is an exceptional trainer. People get down on Bomac. Bomac is old school. He was hanging out in the gyms in New York City, the 54th Street gym. He's a hands-on guy, and he listens to the old timers, man, because those guys don't give knowledge. People like Derek James, I don't think he has that basic knowledge on how to handle fights in different situations, get into the heads of different fighters. Bud Crawford just showed he was a superior fighter, and I think if they fight 10 times right now, he's got Errol Spence's number. Errol Spence, I think, like I said, he should go the way that Thomas Hearns went. Go out and get some more straps. Go make some more notoriety. Show everybody you're the best, and if they are the best, they'll eventually come together again. But I mean, this for a rematch to happen by the end of the year, I think that's just absurd, man. I'm hearing the Illuminati's involved.
There you go, Bruce. There you go. The Illuminati's involved.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you know what's funny, man? This the thing I was asking D Free, and I'm gonna ask you this, man. So is Bud Crawford an all-time great, even though he only fought one guy? At welterweight, better yet. Let me clean that up. At welterweight.
I don't
He
know if
only
we. I
fought
don't know.
one guy.
I don't know if we can call him an all-time great because he's still boxing. All-time great. That's kind of reserved for when your career is over, when they can look back on it. I mean, he's still got a lot of options in front of him, and if he keeps fighting like he is, there's no reason why. I mean, he's definitely a generational great. He's a great fighter in this generation, the best 147 pound fighter out there, and he's also got an undisputed at 140 and a title at 135. So I mean, dude, the man's Hall of Fame material, and it depends on what he wants to do. See, I was listening to a guy named Randy Gordon the other day. Man, Randy Gordon is he was the publisher of Ring Magazine, boxing commissioner for the state of New York. And he said, I think in a perfect world, they would both retire after this fight because the beating that Spence took, we don't want to see that happen again. And Errol Spence, he's made plenty of dough. I mean, that's the only reason he's going to be in this again is for generational wealth. But he's made the dough where he could get out of the game and represent the game, play golf, whatever makes him happy. It's a tough sport, and give some room for these young guys to come up here, man. We got a ton of 147 pound fighters. We want to see Boots Ennis and Abadizi, and I mean, there's just so many fighters that we want to see at 147 come up.
Hey, you know the funny thing about it, and I ask you this too, D Free. Going forward in boxing, can we top this year at all? I'll start with you, Bruce. Can we top this year that we've seen so far? Because it feel like it's 88. That's what my uncle told me. It feel like it's 88 again.
Well, the one thing we haven't had is a heavyweight championship fight this year. Next week, with Dillian White having to get out of the fight with the drug issue, now they're going to make the main event, and we don't know who's going to fight. People are saying it's going to be Helenius. That's what I think. He's the top runner. It could be Hershevek, which would be a great fight. Somebody's saying Andy Ruiz said he wants to get into the game, so it's real interesting. But no, boxing this year, it's back to like it was in '88. It's getting real exciting again. It's almost like it's a sellout sale. Somebody said to the powers that be, you guys got to get something going in this game. It's just it's not happening anymore, man. And hey, you don't mind if I share this stream on my channel, do you, bro?
Oh, absolutely. All
right, man. Because I got it on there. Shout out to Michael Johnson, the Bud Files, and Black Star Sports, and UGC Flame, guys. I'm over here on BVO's channel, D Free's channel. I got fortunate enough to get invited, so we're here for some fucking pure knockout boxing, baby.
hey, Keith, I want you to end a debate that me and D Free been having for a long time. Since we started our podcast, man, rolling with the punches. I want the legendary Bruce Gas in this debate. Who won, Oscar or Pernell Whitaker? Who won?
That was a very close fight, man. Very close fight. I think Oscar edged him out. I think Whitaker was at the end of his career, and as close as it was, I'd have to watch it again. But watching it back then, I didn't argue with the decision. I thought it was fair.
D Free argued with that decision. He was kicking and screaming about that, man. He keeps saying Pernell won, knowing Oscar beat him to death. He's saying Pernell won. So how you feel about that, D Free? I was right.
I still have my opinion that Pernell won that.
Damn straight, man.
But Pernell was doing nothing but dancing. That's all that was. He was in there dancing.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you like this. I seen a fighter went around with not throwing no punches. All defense went around. He didn't throw not one punch and still won the round. So because Pernell danced doesn't mean that he lost because he danced. It doesn't mean that he lost because
he was fast.
If you can throw punches, but if the punch is not landing, they're not effective punches. They're not effective. You just throwing punches.
And while we got you here, OG Bruce, man, I gotta ask you this, man. Tell D Free how good Oscar De La Hoya was, man. Because you always hate on Oscar.
I know how good Oscar De La Hoya was.
Tell him about Oscar.
I was a fan of Oscar.
Tell him about Oscar, Bruce, because you don't understand who Oscar
is. D3's no infant. He was around. He was around in the 90s.
I was around with Oscar. I was a fan of Oscar.
Oscar was the golden boy.
He talks so bad about Oscar, man. He talks so bad about Oscar.
All I'm saying is,
he called Oscar my
stepdad.
All this crazy stuff.
No, this is what I said. I said that he did not beat Sweet Pea. That's all I've ever said. He didn't beat Sweet Pea, and he don't have footwork. That's all I ever said. He don't have footwork, and he didn't beat Sweet Pea. I was a fan of Oscar.
And Sweet Pea was a tough guy to look good in front of, man.
Yeah.
I mean, even in his losses, even at the end of his career, he still make you look like a chump in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the biggest robbery for Sweet Pea was the Chavez fight. I mean, his first title fight with Jose Luis Ramirez, blatant robbery.
Yeah, that was a robbery. That was a super robbery right there.
Just a superior defensive fighter. Once when Pernell Whitaker got going, that was Willie Pep in the ring. I mean, you couldn't hit him with a handful of rocks. You know, he was everywhere. But people like knockout artists, so that's what it eventually came down to. Some people were turned off by Whitaker's defensive style, but I mean, I saw him fight this kid out of Chicago. I think his name was Louis Lamelli, and Whitaker knocked him out, man. Third round knockout, if I'm correct. But great stuff, and it just showed the word I'm looking for, versatility. He had versatility, and when an opponent came right to him and didn't worry about counter punches, bang, Whitaker could lay you out.
Good.
Hey, let me ask you this, OG. How do you feel Jermell Charlo facing against Canelo? You think he has a chance of beating Canelo?
Well, you know, Canelo hasn't looked 100%. He when he fought BVO and when he fought John Ryder, and you never know, man. Canelo could have that right time. It could be the right time, right place. Very, very interesting fight. You know, Mel Charlo, he backs down from nobody. He hasn't fought in 2 years, so he's definitely bigger than 154. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to come in there maybe at 165, 163 range. It's going to be a great fight, man. I think it's going to be a real interesting fight if it lasts long. And I give Mel Charlo a chance if he moves around, if he doesn't get caught up in a slugfest with Canelo. He just might have the skills and the speed and the youth on his side to beat Canelo in a close decision. So never know in boxing.
So let me ask you this. Now I know you know your boxing, man. But is Beterbiev as good as he looks? Because he really has. King Arthur hasn't really had those all-time great fights. But is he as good as he looks, or is that just the competition he's facing that makes him look that good?
Well, I talked to his assistant trainer. His name is John the Iceman Scully. Mm-hmm. And John Scully is a former professional boxer. He fought middleweight. He fought light heavyweight. He was in the ring with Michael Nunn. He's got an extensive resume, and he's a boxing historian. He makes me look like a freaking kindergartner. He is. I mean, when this dude grew up, he didn't have comic books. His dad had the Ring magazine, hit the Bible of boxing. He had,
hold on, I gotta. Hey, can you let him say it? Tell him what that is again. Tell him about the Ring magazine again, Bruce. Because he always. I got videos of him discussing about the Ring magazine, Bruce. So I'm glad I got a non-biased guy on here like you, man.
Hey, it's always been my favorite, the Bible of boxing. I stopped buying boxing magazines in the mid-'90s, but before that, I mean, I didn't miss a Ring magazine since 1981. I mean, even before that, I loved Ring magazine, and you know, right now it's different. Boxing is different too. It's a whole different game, and you know, I listen to these cats. You know, like Dougie Fisher, the editor of Ring magazine. I talked to him on Twitter, and very, very intelligent, real historian. But getting back to Scully, he said that Arthur Beterbiev is he's an abdominally. Said this guy is getting better the older he gets. He's a devout Muslim. He's never had a drink of alcohol, never smoked a cigarette, never did a drug. He's the epitome of the body is a temple. He prays 5 times a day. And all he wants to do, he doesn't know boxing. He doesn't know he doesn't care who he's going to fight. He doesn't know BVO. He doesn't know, I mean, he just knows who they tell him to fight. And,
wow.
and that's all he wants to do is just continue fighting, continue training. Unfortunately, the business of boxing, you don't get the fights you want to see. It's all lawyers going back and forth and different promotions. I think if Beterbiev was around in the 80s, fighting the guys like Saad Mohammed and Mike Rossman and Mustafa Mohammed and Marvin Johnson, I think he would have been a standout there. But as far as today goes, man, all bets are off when Beterbiev gets in there. Nobody at 175. I bet the house on Beterbiev.
Hey, I got Beterbiev over everybody at 175. I don't see until somebody beat him. I can't pick against him because he's knocking everybody out, and he's the type of guy you got to show me that you can beat him in order for me to pick against him, because that man, it's like when he sees his own blood, that's when he gets better. He goes in for the kill. He sees his own blood, he going for the kill. So I can't pick. He remind me of Floyd. I can't pick against him until you beat him. You got to beat him in order for me to pick against him.
I'll say this, man. When it comes down to it, I think what I've seen from King Arthur, man, he might have stopped Andre Ward. I think he might have stopped Andre Ward, man. Which is not, and I'm not saying that lightly at all, man. Hey, Celtic, I dropped the link in the chat for you, man.
Hey, I mean, that would have been a hell of a fight. That would have been a hell of a fight.
He might stop him. I mean, because like you were saying, it seemed like once he starts bleeding, it's like it makes him excited, and then he really want to fight. I don't know how you do that, man.
I mean, Andre Ward is one of the greats when it comes to light heavyweights. Yeah, that would have been a hell of a fight. I don't even. That's a 50-50 fight. I don't know how it would go. I don't know how that would go. I don't know how it would go.
And when have you ever heard somebody say it about Andre Ward? But you know what? I think that guy, Saad Muhammad, I think he would have beat Andre Ward because he was a dog, man. I say this. One thing I gotta say, I always wanted this, Bruce, is the pace they used to fight at. Is it because they fought such a high pace? Is that why boxing seems so much better when you watch it on tape?
Well, I think that the boxers from back in the day, they were a different breed. And the thing about these guys, if you look at these guys today, the sad fact is most of these guys are broke, and most of these guys don't have all their marbles. And the fighters today are looking at these guys, and they're like, man, you know, as great as they were, the wars that they had, look at the toll it took on their bodies, look at the damage it's done. So I know we're never going to see fighters like Saad Mohammed again. But Saad Mohammed, man, he was the miracle man. I mean, they don't even know his birthday. He's 3 different dates. They say. Seriously, bro.
I like how you talking,
bro. Listen to this, man. He was a kid. His parents were his mother. She was a drug addict. She dropped him off with his aunt to live. His aunt had a kid. She asked her kid. He was like 4 years old. Take him to the park and don't come back with him. And he was orphaned. They found him on the Franklin Parkway in Pennsylvania. That's how they gave him the name Matthew Franklin. The nuns called him Matthew after the Bible. And I mean, this dude has just had a tough road to hoe. You watch some of his fights though; they're the greatest fights you're going to see. You're going to see him on the verge of defeat, coming back. dozens of times. When he lost his title to Dwight Mohammed Flowers, I said, no, he's going to come back. He's going to come back. But you know, this is the thing about boxing. One of these fights, you're not going to come back. So it could possibly be. We could possibly see that with Canelo Alvarez. We could possibly see that with Baturbiev. Any of these fighters. Father Time waits for nobody, and the accumulation of beatings, the miles that you put on your body. Hey man, you got to pay for all that eventually. So that's why boxing's a crazy game, man, crazy sport.
Hey, I know my brother CDK had a legend for you for the legendary Bruce Gas. Go ahead and ask a question, man. I know you had a question for her.
I just want to ask you, Floyd, I was listening to some Floyd was saying, do you think if Floyd would have fought during the times of Thomas Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard, you think he would have went undefeated?
No. I think boxing, Floyd was he's a very gifted boxer, but he was also a very privileged boxer. So Floyd dictated the way the gloves that he used. He dictated a lot of things. I don't think he would have been able to get away with that back in the day. His father was an active fighter back in the day. I saw his father fight Sugar Ray Leonard back at the Providence Civic Center in 1978, and we can get a good idea how Floyd would have fought Sugar Ray Leonard, because his father, if you watch some of his fights, he fights the exact same style. But as far as Floyd, great undefeated fighter. But I think if you put him back in the 80s, and especially if you throw him back in the 50s with the Sugar Ray Robinsons, and he
would have been too big, man.
Well, but also the damage those guys took on their hands. Floyd had brittle hands. He's had operations on them. He had to wear special gloves. I don't know if he could have gotten away with that back in the day, back in the 80s, 70s and 80s. But hey, man, I hate fantasy fights. I can't stand them. There is no correct answer. But,
right.
Hey, you know the funny thing about it, man. I think when people talk about the golden era of fighting, I always wonder, like, if Henry Armstrong was around now, man, he'd probably be unbeatable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you ever watch some of those guys like that, like, I was thinking about like Henry Armstrong would get hit, and it seemed like he just enjoyed it. I don't know, man.
I mean, see, when you think about the guys back in the days and the fighters now, it's the guys back in the days seemed like they were more hungry. They was more hungry than the guys are now. Like the guys are now is more so they fighting for the money. They all fight for money, but it's like the guys now, they fight for the money more so fighting for the fame. Like the guys back in the days, they fought to be recognized as the best fighter. The guys now are more so fighting for the money. They're not really so much fighting for being known as the best guy.
Right.
That's a good point.
They weren't making the money back in those days that they're making today. So you don't have to fight more than twice a year to make as much as those guys made in their entire careers. So it's a whole different world. Like I tell people, I'm an alien in this boxing world today. I don't get it. I'm not going to argue it. I'm just going to take it for what it is. I'm going to enjoy it, and there's great fights happening. But it's not the same as boxing was in the 80s. In my heyday, in the 70s and 80s,
Yeah. But you know the funny thing about it, I'll say this: I guarantee you, Muhammad Ali couldn't stand in front of Tyson Fury the way he stood in front of people. You think he could?
You talking about Muhammad Ali in his prime?
Standing in front? No. The second Muhammad, not the first one, not the fast one.
Oh, okay.
The second one.
You talking about the second one? Oh,
the second one, not the first one.
Because Muhammad Ali in his prime, I don't care who you was. Muhammad Ali in his prime, you ain't hitting that man. You ain't touching that man. Muhammad Ali in his prime, he beat you before you got in the ring. He beat you before you got in the ring.
Hey, Bruce, what was that British guy's name that he fought, man? Was he from Canada or something that Ali fought? that sent him to the hospital with bleeding kidneys?
You mean his last fight?
Yeah, before he got suspended.
When
he was young.
When he was young. Oh, yeah, maybe you're thinking of George Chuvalo.
George Chuvalo, yeah. George Chuvalo.
Oh.
You know what's funny? I think George Chuvalo would be champion right now. He'd be undisputed if he was around now. Ain't that crazy, man? I think he was just very good. But if he fought now, I mean, I don't think Tyson Fury could beat him.
Yeah, now, yeah. But if he would have fought in the 80s and the 90s, probably not.
Yeah.
I don't think he would be able to fight. I don't think he'd be able to beat Lennox Lewis.
Nope. He's not beating Lewis.
I think Riddick Bowe would have beat Lennox Lewis. What do you think,
Riddick Bowe danced all around that man.
I don't see that. That's the thing. I don't know because Riddick Bowe didn't take the fight.
Right.
And for that reason, I would have to say that Riddick Bowe knew something about Lennox Lewis that we didn't know. Because anytime a man don't take the fight, if you're the champion and you don't take the fight and you throw your belt in the trash, it's for a reason. And I don't want to hear it was because of the money and none of that. Because even if it's the money, you beat that man and you move on with your career. You don't give away the one thing that solidifies you. Because once he got in the trash, nobody heard about Riddick Bowe no more. You didn't hear about Riddick Bowe. It was all Lennox Lewis. It was Lennox Lewis, Tyson, and Holyfield after that. It wasn't Riddick Bowe no more.
I mean, I say this, man. I feel like Lennox Lewis doesn't get enough credit because he took a nap in the ring 2 times. But I think out of anybody, I would have loved to see Lennox Lewis versus Ali in his prime. That would have been a great fight. Because he's the first
I think Ali would have beat Lennox Lewis, but
Ali lost 3 times to Ken Norton, bro. People don't keep it real. Ali lost 3 times to Ken Norton. What you think?
He did.
Ken Norton beat him every time. I don't know how in the world he only got 1 out of those 3.
It's style of fighting. Style makes fights. It's just like Sugar Shane and Vernon Forrest. Sugar Shane couldn't beat Vernon Forrest. Vernon Forrest couldn't beat Mayorga, but Sugar Shane could beat Mayorga, and Mayorga could beat Vernon Forrest. So styles make fight.
That's the old triangle theory.
That don't work.
Hey, let me ask Mr. Booth a question before I go back to work, if y'all don't mind. Because I got like 2 or 3 minutes. I got to get back in here to work. But I always said that, like, when people talk about Muhammad Ali, which he is my favorite fighter of all time, but I feel like that Mike Tyson is a better version. The young Mike Tyson in his prime is a better version of Joe Frazier. So I always felt like that Mike Tyson in his prime would have gave Ali fits because of his style. What do you think about that?
It would have been a great fantasy fight. I mean, damn, Mike Tyson for 3 years, from 1986 to 1989, he was the best. He was the best I ever saw. I saw Ali fight. I saw Joe Frazier fight. I've seen them all fight. You know, all within reason. But there were 3 years. Mike Tyson, he cleaned out the heavyweight division. Don King had the tournament. Every champion out there, every contender, he didn't dodge any of them. People are saying, "Oh, he didn't fight Riddick Bowe. He didn't fight Lennox Lewis." That was after prison. That was after didn't have. He was a regular human being after he got out of jail. After Buster Douglas beat him. But 3 years there, Mike Tyson and Ali and a prime Ali. That would have been fireworks right there, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate y'all, man. Salute. I'm out.
Peace, man.
All right, bro.
So
Much love, brother.
He was in jail 5 years?
No, Mike Tyson, he was in jail for pretty much 4 years. He was in jail from 1990, and he got out in 95, right? That was from 91 to 95. Yeah, he did a good bid.
Almost 5 years. Yeah, that's what I figured it was almost 5 years. Let me look it up. It said it was 5 years. It was 5. He got out in 1995. But this is the thing I'm wondering, man. Everybody talk about Mike Tyson for that 3 year span. What made him so great?
dedication, physical gifts. He had the great mind of Customato, where they took him as a 14-year-old kid and they put him in a boxing institution where he slept, and shit nothing but boxing until he had the weekends. Tyson was a crazy bastard. He'd go back to New York on a weekend. I mean, damn.
And you know what? I think that was more so the downslope of Mike Tyson when Customati passed away. I think that was more so the downslope because Mike Tyson was never the same after Customati was gone. He still was dominant, but he wasn't the same. He didn't have the dedication and the mindset that Customati gave him when he was under his training, because it was like Mike Tyson lived and breathed boxing when Customati was around. It was like once Customati passed away, it was like Mike Tyson partying. You see Mike Tyson around a bunch of females and stuff like that. So I think that was more so the downslope of Mike Tyson once he passed away.
Well, Mike Tyson was adopted by Customato. That was not only his trainer, that was his father. And he was afraid of Customato. He didn't want to displease Cuss. So he was on his P's and Q's. He studied boxing films. They had a library. Jimmy Jacobs and Bill Caton. They had the biggest boxing film collection in the world, and that's what Tyson did at night. And he was a student. He still is. He still goes and takes care of graves of obscure boxers. Somebody dies, they'll pay for a funeral expenses. Things you don't hear about. But Tyson, for those 3 years, I mean, dude, it was wild. And not only that, but we bought into it. Everybody had Mike Tyson shirts, Mike Tyson T-shirts. There were the Mike Tyson cartoons around, posters, everything. Video games were just coming around. And man, Mike Tyson, he captured the world. It wasn't just boxing fans; it was everybody. When there was a Tyson fight going on, everybody was in front of their TV. You don't see that today. You don't see. He'd be on commentating on Wide World of Sports. He'd be on the Johnny Carson show. He'd be on everybody. Arsenio Hall. He was a celebrity, and he was transcending boxing. Where today you don't have anybody like that. That's that everybody. All they have to do is say the name Tyson back then, and Mike Tyson, baddest man on the planet.
I gotta say this, man. It's funny because people don't realize Customato changed boxing. What he did with Floyd Patterson, and even to a very small extent, what he did with hopping up with Ali. Who was a better trainer, Eddie Futch or Customato? Who was a better trainer?
Both great trainers, man.
Hey, because I always hear about Eddie Futch, but you always hear Eddie Futch and Angie. You never hear Customato. Why was Customato left out of that list?
Well, Cuss pretty much stayed to himself up in Catskill, New York, and he had fighters, but he didn't have the elite. He didn't have the elite fighters, the big name fighters. But he had his stable. He had Jose Torres, like you said, Floyd Patterson. He made the best with what he had, but he only had a little. He had a little house upstate New York, a 12-bedroom house, and he kept. It was a rotating thing. Kevin Rooney was in there. Teddy Atlas was in there. I mean, it was a constant, but nothing but boxing though. I mean, great stuff. And Cuss was very, very, very picky on who he took on. He wouldn't just take on anybody. Mackie Don, salute, brother.
Hey,
I put my I put my Cash App in there, not for anybody to give me anything. I put that in there for Black Star because I got him a couple of autographs of Marlon Starling, and I hope he got him. But I sent Marlon a check. Marlon doesn't even have a Cash App. I sent a check, and if I'm saying, Marlon, you got to get these in the mail. And he's another one. He's been fighting for a long time. He's taking a lot of punches. He said, I put him in there already. I said, no, you didn't, Marlon. That was for somebody else. But anyway, Black Star, he texted me, wanted my Cash App. So I hope he got the autographed pictures, man. Because I'm trying to help out these OGs by seeing if I can generate some cash for them. Because I mean, most of these cats, bro, they're living on Section 8, government assistance, SSI. So if they can get a few bucks for their autograph, that's great. And I've sold a few for Marlon Starling. I want to get my man Leon Mohammed, Sugar Ray Seals. There's a couple of them that could use a few bucks. And they don't realize how powerful we are over here on YouTube, man. People appreciate those things. Those things are treasures.
Yeah, they are, man.
Yeah. And so if I can help them, get them out there to make a few bucks for them, man. Give the people who get them a great present. I got a few back here on the wall, man, and I treasure those autograph pictures.
Mm-hmm. You know the funny thing about boxing, I feel like no matter what, you can talk about eras or whatever, but it seemed like it all goes the same. Whether you're talking about Willie Pep, you're talking about Henry Armstrong, you're talking about Sugar Ray Robinson. I mean, I feel like anywhere you go in boxing, man, these guys can fight today. I mean, I put like this. I don't think everybody can fight when they fought. Like it's very, very few guys. I don't think there's anybody now that could fight back when in the 80s. I really don't. Other than maybe a Chance Crawford. I think even like a Tyson Fury would get handled by like a Larry Holmes. I think Larry Holmes would beat him easy. I mean, I think that's kind of funny how that goes. Do you feel like Larry Holmes didn't get his just due because Muhammad Ali cleaned the division out already?
I don't know, man. I read an article the other day about was Larry Holmes overrated, mm-hmm. and it made a little bit of sense to me. Larry Holmes, I can't think of the real great fights that he had. Real Hall of Fame fighters that he fought at their peak. But I mean, Larry, when I saw him, he was a great fighter, but he used to keep that left jab out there, almost illegally. He'd hold it out there and he'd use it as a defensive weapon to hold the fighters off, and he couldn't get away with that with guys like Rocky Marciano or Joe Frazier. Man, they'd come up, they'd break that elbow. Can you imagine a Mike Tyson uppercut with Holmes' jab hanging out? But he was almost 2 years on the couch, I think, when he came out of retirement and fought Mike Tyson. So it was Tyson in his incredible years. And Larry Holmes was coming out of retirement. But on the other hand, he got serious about boxing, and he went on to beat Ray Mercer. He had a decent fight with Evander Holyfield. He showed he's a great talent. But he might have been. I'm reading this article. I'm saying, man, maybe he was overrated. I don't know, man. I don't know. He wasn't a very, very popular heavyweight champion. People didn't give him a lot of respect out there. When he fought Jerry Cooney, he got they introduced him first. He was the champion, and they introduced him before they introduced Cooney. And
that's what I think about Larry Holmes. He didn't have the name, and he lived in the shadows of Muhammad Ali and Ernie Schaefer, and so that's why I don't think he got the acknowledgement of being one of the top heavyweights, because they all looked at him as a low budget Muhammad Ali, because he had the jab and the head movement and stuff like that. So he didn't get the acknowledgement of being who he was, because he lived in the shadows of Muhammad Ali. But I feel that he was underrated because of that fact, because he lived in the shadows of Muhammad Ali.
I'll say this, man. When you say that, then that makes me think Evander Holyfield is overrated then, because he beat an old George Foreman and he popped dirty. I mean, that's kind of tough, because then you got to say Evander Holyfield is. If you think about Evander Holyfield, he's overrated. He beat an old, past his prime Mike Tyson, even though he was kind of past his prime too. I mean, Mike was way past his prime back then. And I don't know, man. It's kind of tough, man, because when you say that about fighters, a lot of guys fall into that category. What you think, D?
I wouldn't say that he was. I wouldn't say that Holyfield was overrated. You got to remember, Holyfield started his career at cruiserweight. So yeah. I wouldn't say that he was overrated. I would just say he was he was a good he was a great heavyweight for the time that he fought at heavyweight until he popped dirty. Once he popped dirty, then everybody goes back and look at his career and like, okay, was he dirty in this fight? Was he dirty in that fight? And that's what happens when you pop dirty. But other than the fact that he popped dirty, I think Holyfield pretty much lived up to what everybody thought he was until he popped dirty.
He said Mike wasn't past his prime. He was on prime time cocaine.
No, Holyfield was a great fighter. I mean, Holyfield, dude, you look at the first fight with Riddick Bowe, even the Fan Man fight. I mean, his fight, the way he destroyed Buster Douglas, his fight with Foreman, and Foreman was not washed up there. That was George on the second coming of George. And you got to remember, after that, George went on to knock out Michael Moorer and become the heavyweight champion of the world.
Yep.
So, Holyfield, I think it's a sin to say that he was that you can't rate Holyfield higher than you do, because I just think Holyfield was a prime fighter. You know, he got bigger. He started hanging up. He started training with who was that Mr. Olympian that he was training with, man? I'll think of his name soon, man. Lee Haney.
Lee Haney, yep.
Lee Haney, and
he got huge. Pause. He got huge.
That's what those Olympians do, man. And then they got to think of a way to get a little huger. And Holyfield, he was just coming into the era of Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe, and that plays on your mind. And hey, man, he made the mistake. I don't think he used any juice in his earlier fights.
No, I don't think he did. It's just when he popped dirty, it made everybody go back and look like, okay, well, we didn't think Holyfield would be able to beat him. Was he on something when he did beat him? So, but me personally, I didn't think the same thing like Roy Jones. I didn't think Roy Jones used nothing early in his career. It was when he popped dirty, then you got to go back and look at it and be like, damn, did he? Because Roy Jones was that fighter that you be like, I've never seen that before. And so when he popped dirty, now people go back and like, okay, was he on something when he was doing this? Was he on something when he was doing that? Because you never seen it before. But me personally, I never thought that they did anything when they was raining. I felt like when they popped dirty, that's because they was dirty. The time before that, I don't think they was dirty because they never popped dirty at that time.
I mean, you never know. Salute to my man, G. Hey, we're official. Hey, salute to my man, World Combat Sports. I gotta say, bro, you were right about Terrence Crawford. I gotta say that.
What's going on, Scotty?
Scotty, you were right, bro.
You was 100% right, Scotty.
Hey, Scotty, and the thing was,
Scotty,
I didn't see that kind of beatdown, Scotty. I don't know. You must got like a crystal ball or something over there, bro. Because I didn't see that happening, man. But in your opinion, where do you go next, Bruce? Where do you think Spencer goes next, man?
Time out.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Hey, D Free. So speaking about fights coming up, man, why do you think Tyson Fury is so scared of Usyk, man? What is this about?
Like I told you when we had our last podcast, what I think it is with Usyk is a smaller fighter. He moves around the ring a lot, and Tyson Fury put on a lot of weight. He put on a lot of weight to fight Deontay Wilder, and he's never been able to lose that weight since he put it on. And I don't think that his stamina can keep up with Usyk, and I think that he knows that Usyk is going to be a problem. And I believe that the fight with Wilder took a lot out of him. It took a lot out of him. He won the fight, but he's never going to be the same fighter that he once was, because we got to remember, he got dropped 4 times in those 3 fights. He got dropped 4 times. And one of them, he even admitted that he was knocked out cold. He was knocked out cold. He even admitted it. So when you get knocked down 4 times and you get knocked out in one of those fights, it takes something out of you. And we all know Deontay Wilder, he's one of the hardest punching that boxing has ever seen. regardless of how you might feel about Deontay Wilder, if you feel that he doesn't have the boxing ability, you feel that he's too small for a heavyweight, regardless of how you feel about Deontay Wilder, he's one of the hardest punchers that we have ever seen in the sport of boxing. This man has literally knocked down or knocked out everybody he's ever faced. So fighting somebody like that is going to take something out of you. And I think he know that Usyk, he saw what Usyk did with AJ, and he's looking at Usyk as an undersized heavyweight. He came up from cruiserweight, and he was able to do that with AJ in 2 separate fights. It's going to be a problem for him. And I think that's the reason why he really put all those stipulations in front of him, because he really didn't want the fight.
I'll say that that's a good point that you're making. I think what it is that Tyson Fury is not looking to fight a complete fighter, because when you think about it, him beating Klitschko, he was all jab, jab, right hand, jab, jab, right hand. Same thing with only difference with Wilder was right hand or nothing. And then you go to Dillian White, who really is the left hook or nothing. I think this guy, and it's funny, we was just talking about the real deal Holyfield. I really think your boy Usyk has a lot of Evander Holyfield in him, man. He's a really good mover. He might not have that power, but I'm talking about the boxing ability. The way he be like boxing circles around people. I mean, he really, he gave AJ a boxing lesson. And if you've seen that second fight, it seemed like he got stronger to where he probably could have stopped him if it was a 15-round fight. So I think Usyk is special, man. And I think we really are missing out, because he took an 85-15 deal, and Tyson Fury still turned it down. I'm telling you, man, Usyk might be the goods, man. He really might be the goods, because I've never heard of a guy, coming from, other than Evander, his direct competition. This dude really, man, probably could be one of the best fighters of all time if he gets the fights, because I don't see Deontay Wilder beating him. I say if Deontay Wilder catches him,
he won't take that fight with Wilder, though. Wilder said he wants to fight him.
Wilder's dangerous. That's the thing. Wilder is dangerous.
Wilder said he wants to fight him, and he said he's going to go fight his mandatory. I'm not saying Usyk's scared of Wilder. What I will say is, if Usyk can't hurt Wilder, it's going to be a problem for Usyk.
That's the last guy.
It's going to be a problem. If he can't hurt Wilder, it's going to be a problem.
That's the one thing I gotta say. If you can't hold Wilder is going to be Superman in there. Because one thing I remember when he fought Luis Ortiz that second time, and Luis couldn't hurt him. I mean, he knocked all that grease and sweat and hair and all that out of him, man. Like it was just it was just bad. You seen all that soul glow pop off his head as soon as he popped him, man. But
yeah, that was a nasty uppercut he caught Luis with. But yeah, I mean Usyk, I like Usyk. I want him. I really want him to take the Wilder fight. Mm-hmm. I don't know because he decided to take the mandatory fight. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes me.
Was that Dubra?
Yeah, It kind of make me look at Usyk with a side eye, because you said you want the Wilder fight, and Wilder's willing to take the fight, and then you decided to take the mandatory fight. So it kind of make me look at a side eye. But I'm not gonna say that he's scared of Wilder, but I don't know. He might be. He might be a little scared, because I mean, I'm gonna be honest. When you see a guy trying to fight you and he's knocked down or knocked out everybody he's been in the ring with, you kind of think twice before you get in the ring with him. You kind of think twice, regardless of how you feel about yourself. You kind of think twice about it, because he's coming. We know he could punch. So if you get hit with that, can you stand up to it? That's the question. And truth be told, Usyk got a little hurt when he fought against AJ. And
AJ hurt him. Ain't no
AJ
little
don't
bit.
hit as hard as Wilder. AJ don't hit as hard as Wilder.
He was definitely hurt.
But that's the problem with boxing today. When we talk about the 80s, they all fought each other. There was no inter streets to cross. They didn't have to worry about dealing with dual promoters. Don King pretty much took care of him, and when he wasn't, he would make deals with Bob Arum and Cedric Kushner, so these fights happen. But now, I mean, Deontay Wilder, I don't care who he fights. I think he should fight twice a year. Fight a bum, fight an up-and-coming guy. Andy Ruiz, that fight's a shame that fight wasn't made. Wilder, I mean, and this weekend, man, who's going to fight Anthony Joshua? We're still wondering about that. L Dub mentioned he mentioned Helenius, and L Dubs is the man. He knows what's going on. And dude, do we want to see that fight?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I did hear something about Robert Helenius, and it was somebody else. They mentioned somebody else.
They mentioned Ruiz. They mentioned Herjavec. They mentioned Herjavec would be a good fight. I think that would be an interesting fight.
He might beat AJ.
yeah, he's already on the card. He's already going to fight there. Ronnie Shields is already over in England right now with him. So I mean, I don't think AJ would take that fight though.
Yeah, that's two slow robotic fighters fighting against each other. So it's a matter of who land they punch first. I mean, but then again, I mean, AJ has been working with Derrick James, and he looked a little better in his last fight when he under Derrick James. He looked a little better. He was still a little robotic, but he wasn't as robotic. But he still was a little robotic. So I mean, he might gotten better since then. So I mean, who knows?
You know the thing about Anthony Joshua is he's very good. He's just not great, and I say that because he's an accumulative puncher, and he really, he's in and out, but he's not in and out fluently either. So it's just, to tell you the truth, if you put him against anybody who can punch, he's going right to sleep. If he was in there with Tyson Fury, and the way Tyson Fury beat Wilder, I mean, he took his belt off with Wilder. It would be worse with AJ, man. It'd be worse because one thing about Wilder, people don't realize, Wilder got a chin because you can't take them punches right on the button like he even took them. Whether it was against Luis Ortiz at his best, Tyson Fury at his best. I mean, I tell you what, man, Wilder's career, when he retires, they're gonna really sleep on how good he was. And I think the difference between him and like an Ernie Shavers was he believed he was a champion. Where I can say I don't think Ernie Shavers come out of prison believed he was a champion. But I don't know what you think about that, D-Free.
Ernie never went to prison. Ernie Shavers didn't go to prison, bro.
Wasn't it? When the Ernie Shavers that was in prison.
Maybe you're thinking. Are you thinking of Sonny Liston?
Sonny Liston. So I'm thinking of Sonny Liston. My mistake. Sonny Liston. I'm thinking of Sonny Liston.
Well, I mean, a lot of boxers did go to prison. Definitely easy to make that mistake.
Yeah.
The thing about Wilder is Wilder he has something he had to fight for. He was fighting for his daughter. He had to make money for his daughter, so he was hungry. He wanted to get in there and fight everybody. He wanted everybody, and he wanted the best of everybody. And once Wilder started realizing that he was better than what he thought he was, then his confidence grew. And that's when you started seeing Wilder started talking a lot more. Because when Wilder first got it after the Olympics, when Wilder first got into the sport of boxing, he was just fighting everybody. He wanted to fight everybody. Once he realized he was better than what he thought he was, then his confidence grew, and you started seeing Wilder started talking a lot more. And Wilder realized, okay, a lot of these heavyweights can't really be in the ring with me because I know my right hand. If I land my right hand, 9 times out of 10, these guys are going to sleep. So that's what Wilder realized. And the one thing I hated is that Wilder fell in love with his right hand. He got away from what got him to where he was. And what got him to where he was he used to jab a lot more. But once he started realizing if he landed his right hand, he had knocked the guy out, he started relying on that right hand. And he got away from the fundamentals of boxing.
Well, I think if he would have fought more, he would have got those fundamentals back, because that's why activity. He relied on that big right hand, and he fought once a year. And when he fought, he landed that big right hand, and the fight was over. Yeah. So I think if Wilder wanted legacy, he would fight anybody. He would fight. He'd be more active. He'd be people right now. The casual boxing fan, they think Wilder's retired because he hasn't made any noise. He hasn't made any fights recently, and I just think the inactivity is going to hurt Wilder in the long run in history. I think the inactivity and the lack of competition, what he could have had right now, I think that's going to affect him in the long run.
Yeah, because Wilder's getting up there in age. I think he's like 36, 37. And so he's getting up there in age. He can't wait around because Father Time waits on nobody. So he can't wait around too much longer. He got to get the fights that he can get. If the big fights are not there, I mean, just take whatever. I mean, I understand he don't need the box. He made enough money. He don't need the box. He got other stuff outside of boxing, and so he only wants the big fights. But when you in the sport of boxing, when you waiting around for the big fights, a lot of times that costs you your career because you waiting around for the big fights. You diminish your skills. Your skills starts to dwindle away because you're not tuning them up. It's just like any skills that you have. If you're not tuning them up on a regular basis, they start to go away. And so by you waiting around for a big fight, your skills are starting to diminish away and you're getting older. You can't pick up where you left off like you once could when you were younger because when you're older, it takes a minute to prime that engine up. You got to prime that engine up. And if you're not working on a regular basis, that engine takes a little bit longer to get going. Once you get it going, then it's ready to roll, and it wants to keep going. But if you cut it off and let it sit for a while, then it gets cold. You got to warm that engine back up again. So him waiting around is gonna hurt his career because if he want to continue in the sport of boxing because he's getting older.
It's funny that you say that because when I seen Wilder versus Helenius, he hit Helenius going backwards with his eyes closed. So that was almost, I don't believe in lucky punches, Bruce and D3, but that's kind of what that was. He had his eyes closed. If you look at that fight versus Helenius, he had his eyes closed going backwards through it, and then Helenius started having a seizure on the floor. I mean, it was just crazy.
I don't think his eyes was closed. I think it was more so the camera caught him when he was blinking because Helenius was throwing a punch at the same time. So I think it was more so he was blinking because most of the time when somebody throw a punch in your face, you're gonna blink or your eyes is gonna close while you're trying to move out the way because of your reaction. It's just natural reflexes. You're gonna do that. If something flashed in front of your face, you're gonna blink your eyes. So I think the camera just might have caught him with his eyes closed because he was blinking. Because Helenius was throwing a shot and he was throwing a shot right behind it.
Bruce, man, you gotta watch these Freeman. He got all these excuses for these guys, man. He just wouldn't have moved right like Superman, just right then. You gotta watch it. He just ran right. Hey, you see him run right in the phone booth.
Hey, like I said,
what the fuck you say?
I've been around boxing a lot, and that's not the first time that he caught somebody on the back foot like that. Because he caught the other guy that was sitting there knocked out cold. They took him out of the ring in the stretcher. What was the guy? The white guy that you said that slapped Deontay. Yeah. He caught him on the back foot.
Hey, he paid for that slap, man. He paid for that slap, man. That's for sure. But you know what, man? Before we get out of here, man, I gotta ask you one question, D3. Who was the best fighter from DC, man?
Who's the best fighter? What?
From DC.
Oh. Hey, I gotta say Sugar. I mean, he's from
Maryland,
right? Technically, he's from Maryland, but Prince George's County, Washington D.C., they coexist together. So if you would put both those together. It's not like Baltimore and D.C. because Prince George's County is literally 5 minutes away from D.C. So if you hang out if you live in Prince George's County, 9 times out of 10 you hang out in DC. So like right now, I live in Prince George's County. DC is literally right across the street. Literally right across the street. So I mean, but I would have to say Sugar Ray Leonard. But if you have to pick somebody that's literally in DC, ooh, that's tough. That's tough. Literally out of DC. It would be between Chop Chop and Mr. Gary.
Okay, I'll take that. And last but not last but not least, Bruce, before we got it, a lot of the people that watch my channel never got to see him on tape really yet. But how good was Salvador Sanchez, man?
Oh damn! Salvador Sanchez came out of nowhere. He destroyed Danny Little Red Lopez, who was a featherweight version of Deontay Wilder. He had a right hand. He was knocking everybody's head off. He came out of nowhere. He beat Danny Little Red Lopez twice. Then he beat Wilfredo Gomez. They called him the Bazooka. He had a record of something like 28-0, 28 knockouts. He was devastating. Salvador Sanchez, I think what was he 23 or 24 when he died, man? He died really young. He was a crazy Mexican. He liked fast cars. He liked fast women, and he fought everybody. He's another one. 4 or 5 years, and he just blew the featherweight division wide open. If you never saw Salvador Sanchez fight, go watch his fight with Wilfredo Gomez. Go watch his fight with Rocky Lockridge. His fight with Juan Laporte. I mean, he was a special generational fighter that a lifetime. You see him once in a lifetime. Maybe Bud Crawford will be like that. We'll see. Definitely Muhammad Ali was like that. Marvin Hagler was like that. Sugar Ray Leonard, but Salvador Sanchez, special fighter.
Yeah, I mean, even with his short career, a lot of people still crown him as one of the great Mexicans of all times.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
he beat that. I seen that fight with that guy Alex. I can't remember Alex's last name. With the mustache, Alex.
Not Aguayo. He didn't fight
Aguayo. Was it Aguayo? He didn't fight Aguayo. Who was that booty for? I can't think of his name.
Wilfredo Gomez. You probably thinking
Wilfredo Gomez. Yeah, Wilfredo Gomez. My mistake. That was a tough fight because it seemed like once Salvador got hit, he just turned up to another level, man. Like he got better over the fight. That's crazy.
He's another one. He died too young. It's what he could have been, but I mean he's in the Boxing Hall of Fame, International Boxing Hall of Fame, and it was a pleasure to see him. I remember the day he died. I couldn't believe it. People said, "No, he's dead." I said, "Dead? No fucking yeah, he's dead." We didn't have any internet back then. It was just waiting for it to come on a news broadcast or making phone calls and stuff. But yeah, man, it turned out to be true. Over a cliff, he was in training camp. He took off to go see some punta, and he was driving a Porsche, and Lord knows he was in the 3-figure department. So that was it for Salvador Sanchez, man.
Hey, I gotta say I appreciate you coming to the Rolling with the Punches podcast, episode 3, Bruce, because you settled a long debate, man. That boy D Free, swear to God, Oscar lost that. I appreciate you.
I still feel how I feel. I still feel how I feel.
Hey, the OG boxer historian said that Oscar
won. There's every fight's got 3 judges for a reason, man. Everybody sees a fight differently. Some people love a defensive fight. Some people like the aggressive offense. Some people like ring generalship. You never know, man. I mean, I'm not Cheatham, Sutherland.
Hey, but then again, also another one that you settled that you didn't know that you settled. My man D Freeman saying F Ring Magazine. I don't give a F about Ring Magazine, and you told him again it's the Bible.
No, what I said was I don't pay attention to Ring Magazine now that Oscar runs it. before Oscar ran it, because I feel if Oscar is a promoter, so he's going to have his biasness. So I just can't look at Ring Magazine the same way as it once was before Oscar took over, because he has his bias.
For sure, bro, for sure. Everything is different in boxing today. Like I said, it used to be the Bible of boxing. I mean, Burt Randolph Sugar, one of the greatest minds in boxing, he's the one who called it the Bible of boxing. And all the way down, Nate Fleischer, Randy Gordon. I mean, every writer they had. That magazine, the rest of them, Knockout and Boxing Illustrated, they were kind of flimsy compared to Ring. Ring was nice and big and had double the stories in there, the ratings centerfold. But I mean, it's not what it was today. So I mean, hey, if I didn't know Dougie Fleischer, I'd say fuck Ring Magazine too.
Oh, here we go. Hey, that's messed up. That's messed up, Bruce. That's messed up how you did that. You know, before we get out of here and we going after this, let me go ahead and snatch your chain, Bruce. Let me snatch your chain. Go ahead and give me your chain off your neck. You talking crazy. All right. We'll be back on Wednesday, same time, same place, 7:15. It's the Rolling with the Punches podcast. Salute to my brother, Bruce Gas. Y'all follow, like, subscribe him. Of course, my partner in crime, D-Free, DC's own, Oscar De La Hoya hater. D-Free. And it's your boy, BVO. And we go.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.